I still enjoy the Hancock building in Chicago. I think it's an elegant, powerful structure that really is expressive of the sort of big shoulders approach and attitude of the city of Chicago. It's a work ethic building. It's a powerful piece, and it expresses the nature of Chicago beautifully.
The World Trade Center was collapsed, but that building I like very much. Very beautiful and very modern.
Empire State Building.
Always.
Yeah, very partial to it, being from New York. What it represents, when it was built, why it was built, how it was built, and how it's still there. And I'm not sure if it's the name, but and the building itself, the tower and the name, are perfect for each other.
For me, it's actually the John Hancock Tower or Center here in Chicago, because for me, when we were designing the Index building, we spent a little bit of time looking at that building and sort of understanding it. And you know, the work that Khan did on the engineering side was actually very interesting in terms of redefining a sort of structural system that allowed people to build towers much taller than they had been able to, and also making them much more efficient. So, you know, the steel structural system makes a very efficient tower and makes a very flexible tower, and therefore it makes it to a certain extent sustainable. And it was also one of the first mixed-use towers as well. So again, that was pioneering work and a breakthrough in terms of not only engineering but also socially, and how people actually started to live in tall towers.
And for me, it would be the Burj Khalifa, world's tallest building. But to me, it's a building that is evidently been designed architecturally and from an engineering point of view to deal with the wind. The wind is the biggest challenge when you're building something over 800 meters high. But the fact that it's non-symmetrical on each of the elevations confuses the wind and was key to the success of that design.
There's a clear answer. This is the John Hancock building. The John Hancock Center here in Chicago, at Delaware Place, by the way, a building I'm living in since 12 years. I'm absolutely convinced that this old lady, as I might call it, it's now 40 years old. It's still in very good shape. It's still rather elegant, perfect building. And it came up with so many innovations at the same time. It was the first multi-use building. It was the first diagonalized tube. It was the first one to install in a height of 44 floors, supermarkets, restaurants, and whatever. I consider this building still as a shining example for everything which actually under design.
I would agree. The difference for me is I don't really have one favorite. I probably go by city more so than just one. It's complicated too in terms of its context, how the building meets the ground and the sky. I think that's how I kind of view it. But I have to agree, for Chicago, it would be the Hancock Tower.
My personal favourite is the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank by Foster Associates in Hong Kong. I think it's a building that is interesting on so many levels. I particularly like the expression of the structure, which is something that we try to, a factor that we try to integrate into the Guangzhou International Finance Center. So a clear expression of the structural system of the building is on display.
The Hancock Tower for me is my favorite tall building in the world, and it's I guess there are a number of factors. One, just the strength, the shape, the tapering of the tower is an incredibly beautiful form. It does a lot of things visually that, you know, the kind of forced perspective that looking up from the ground, and the tapering of the tower accentuates the height. But I think it's mostly just the simplicity of the idea of that is so strong.
I was a student when the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank was built. And in a way, that actually I was inspired to be a structural engineer because of that building.
The residential high-rise building in Bangkok by an office from Singapore called Woha, which is a kind of, if you could describe it as a screen, it's a very tall building which has openings all over the place, and it's basically naturally ventilated. It has terraces on all levels with swimming pools and kind of all the kind of luxuries that you can imagine from almost a single-story house, but it's stacked.
Well, yesterday I went up the Hancock building again, been up several times, and I really think it's a great building. I like the expression of the structure. You can feel the way the building is working when you're inside as well. I mean, it actually kind of creaks a bit, but I think it's very elegant structurally and architecturally, and I think it really does show a real coordination between architecture and engineering.